Gentlemen, good night. Welcome to another edition of the Creative Collective podcast. I'm yours truly, Mr. Shamari KRL, aka Readymix TMT. Thank you guys for spending some time with me tonight with four totally fantastic women, creative women that we're going to get into some conversation with tonight. Just wait a little bit to allow a couple more people to join. I already have my ladies in the waiting room waiting to join the conversation. So you could share this live with anyone that you know would be interested. We really want to hear from you guys tonight. Also, as you could go in the comments for me as well. We will be taking some of your comments throughout the entire evening of the conversation. Some of the questions that you may have to ask, and even if it is you want to chime into the conversation as well. Just for anybody who is wondering what the Creative Collective is about, it's about us highlighting creatives in a different way. Everybody, as I like to say, has a story, and that story is a journey of 1,000 miles. We want to use this platform to be able to tell the stories of creatives, whether they are artists, entertainer, DJ, musician, it doesn't really matter. We know that there's a creative side of you that speaks to many people, and we wanted to be able to bring together these elements within this conversation for you to learn from the individuals who are involved in the different industries. Everybody that I've had so far, from Preety to Second Star to Kivo, are people with a lot of information that they want to share with individuals. And I thought it really, really important that we celebrate some of the women that are actually charting their course right now in creative fields. So tonight, I'm really, really looking forward to having the conversation with them. As I said before, you guys could join us in the comment section. We will see the comments during the course of the night, and we will be able to respond to everybody there. All right, so now I can bring in my guests for the evening. The ladies for the evening, man. All right, and here we go. Good night, ladies.
Hi, good night.
All right. So I want to start from the beginning. As we said, tonight is about the present is female. And I say that because a lot of people keep saying that the future is female, but I think if there's one thing we've learned right now is that women are charting their course, and it's no longer about the future, it's about the present. And I have four fantastic women with me who have contributed to entertainment and the sectors that they're involved in. And in addition to which, they've contributed to my career as well. And I'm going to get into details about that. So let me start from which would be my left or right here, but left, right? So let's start with Zenaida McNamara Phillips. Zenaida is Big Z, CEO of Legends, or the directors of Legends, Carnival as well as executive events. And she has just taken up the mantle of producer. So we're going to get into that. We also have we're going to also get to that as well. We also have Nariba Robinson, who is the Zale Events. So say hi, Nariba.
Hi, everyone.
Right, we go to the bottom and fly all the way now to one of the two second homes, which is St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have Miss Karen Freitas, who is Sokanaval.
Hi, what's up?
And of course, last but not least, the lady of the sunshine in my life.
Wait, what did you that's like
Kerra Denel, please don't call her Kira. Kerra Denel, the CEO of Kerra Denel Entertainment. So
Good night, everyone.
All right, so I already see people have been already commenting. So I just want to shout out Sean, Pamo, Delroy, who is in Miami, he's locked in as well too. And if you guys have any questions to ask during the course of the night, you all feel free to ask it. If you have any comments that you want to put in as well, we're going to get to some of the comments in the conversation. All right. Now, as I was saying in the beginning, I personally believe that everybody has a story. It doesn't matter where you are in your developmental stage, but that story is something that's going to impact people in whatever way. Your story is your story, and people sometimes looking at your life don't really understand the challenges that you go through to be able to have the success that you have. But as I also said, a story is a journey of 1,000 miles, and I believe that each one of you guys have a unique reason for why it is you started in the industries that you started. So let me start with Kerra and go around. Kerra, can you give us just a brief idea of what inspired you to do what you do? And it's so funny, Kerra, because you always sit down and kind of thrash out the different things that you do, and people already don't understand the detail of it. and the amount of work that goes into it. But yeah, if you could just give us a brief, of what inspired you to do what you do right
My love for the culture is really what inspired me to do everything. Like from Kerra Denel Entertainment to CWPL Global to Kerra Love Kids. Everything kind of ties back into my love for the Caribbean and my love for the culture. When it comes to Kerra Denel Entertainment, I think that I really wanted to see, artists from different islands be come together, work together, and just be successful. And I wanted to be able to contribute to that space. Like I wanted to be able to help, DJs rise, to see artists rise, and just a different, creative people from that space be successful. Because I believe that there is a lot of talent that comes from the Caribbean. We are probably the most creative people there are in the world.
now?
And I really felt that it was important to me to help these people get to the level that they need to be at.
Right. Talk to me a little bit about the power lunch that you do for women, because I think that is a very unique element of your career and the career path that you've gone on. Because one of the things that I want to be able to impact from this conversation is that even though we're with 4 women, this is a gender neutral conversation. And I believe that it is important that from our collective experiences, we're able to uplift each other. But at the same point in time, you've been charting something in that lane. So talk to us a little bit about that and where the inspiration for that came from.
I felt as though I didn't really have a lot of women in my circle per se. I used to go to a lot of the guys because I work with all these different artists and DJs, and they would be the ones that I go to for advice, for support. And I started having conversations with different women and realized that a lot of women felt like they weren't getting support from other women. So I wanted to create a space where Caribbean women could come together and feel supported and feel empowered and feel inspired and feel like they're part of something bigger, So when I first decided to do this, it took 3 weeks to come together in May 2018. Had no idea what this event was going to be. I figured, maybe 20 people would come out because it's like, what's Caribbean Women's Power Lunch? We've never heard about this. Not a lot of these events were actually happening.
Right.
And I had over 70 women show up in Toronto for the first event. And
Wow.
I was completely astounded because I didn't expect that kind of turnout. And I traveled all summer after that for carnivals. And in September, women were reaching out to me from different countries saying, when are you bringing this to our country? We've seen the videos, we've, gotten the feedback, and we want something like this in our city. So I decided to host the next event in Toronto. And from that, it just catapulted. Like people from all over were reaching out saying that it needed to come to, their city. And I then did Trinidad, Tobago, LA, and then came back to Toronto again. And this year I was actually scheduled to do St. Kitts, Grenada, and New York. So I'm really disappointed that I wasn't able to do that. But again, the initial question, I wanted to do this to bring together women of the diaspora. It's a welcoming platform for women of all walks of life. So no matter where you're from, we welcome you at these events. But I want to highlight and celebrate Caribbean women because they deserve to be celebrated and they deserve to be put on a platform so people could see all of the amazing things that they're doing.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we'll already get into the conversation later on is about pivoting at this point in time in COVID-19, which is a question, or I should say a topic that I got from a friend of mine, because over the last couple of days, I've been actually in discussions with different women in my life. And I've just been trying to get feedback from them on what they would really like to hear out of this conversation. Because as I said, we want to be transparent. We want it to be gender neutral, but at the same point in time, we want that the topics could impact them where they are in their lives. Let me move on to Miss Sokanaval. One of the things about you that always strikes me is that you are very modest when it comes down to what you do. And I've always told you that what you do in terms of bringing West Indian culture to apparel is something that's speaking to people all over the world. So right now, actually, I have on a Soka t-shirt here right now, which is yes, who here does feel mommy 24/7. I actually have a friend in New York who wears a lot of your hats and that kind of stuff. What was the reason that you got yourself into the field that you're in right now? What was the reason for you to go into design? What inspired you to be able to start that process, especially being from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, wanting to be able to put your country on the map like that? What was your inspiration to start in this career?
I'm a designer, many things. I'm starting to call myself an entrepreneur because when you're an entrepreneur, you become serial. So I have different businesses. But when it comes to Sokanaval, that came about because I used to work on the Soka in New York for like 5 years. And my designs are more, I wouldn't say they're Caribbean inspired, but when I came back, I had to, I guess, pivot my business because my aesthetic does not fit. Soca is not necessarily a Caribbean brand, so I had to make Sokanaval because to cater specifically for Caribbean people.
Right.
And so like me falling into t-shirt was kind of an accident. So I was never intentionally being a t-shirt designer. And then I just wanted to be like, we wear a lot of like name brands per se, like we wear Abercrombie and Fitch, and I'm like, why don't we? Are like a lot of people like J'adore Paris or whatever, and I'm like, why don't we J'adore, like I don't know, J'adore Castries or something? So that's like the idea behind Sokanaval. But it's Sokanaval because it's Sokanaval, so that brand is specifically for carnival needs. So I do like customize Monday wear. I build customize. If you want to customize your costumes, I do that because I used to work in carnival bands in production.
Right.
And yeah, and on top of it, I'm a designer. Like Soka is a whole different brand that I can speak about because I've done a lot under that brand.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And back to Kerra, I run a nonprofit through my business where I'm trying to empower Caribbean women. So if you buy stuff specifically called Soca Gal, you contribute to adopting classrooms in St. Vincent. That's where it starts out. And also running free workshops for Caribbean business entrepreneurs women in St. Vincent. I mean, because I'm here, that's what I'm starting out. Because like in 2 weeks, we're doing a workshop on intro to your, I'm sorry, I'm doing a lot these days. Intro to your business plan. And then like a week after, we're doing a creative panel of Vincentian women like here tonight sharing our stories.
Yeah.
I think what's wrong in the Caribbean, or maybe our biggest fault, is that we don't communicate with each other or we don't network. And I think we together are our biggest strength. So I'm just trying to see if we can start a conversation with each other. So I think in a nutshell, that's all I do. Maybe.
And funny enough, even though you said that networking is one of the issues that we have, I would also say that I think one of the issues that we have as well is that a lot of times when we start business, a lot of people don't treat it like business. I don't know if you guys understand where I'm coming from. So we have a DJ out there who trying to market himself, but he doesn't understand the business side of it. He doesn't understand booking. He doesn't understand, as Kerra and others like to say, if you have a rider, if you have information about what you do, and the fact that you're helping people develop business plans for entrepreneurship is something that's really important and something I think is missing across the board in a lot of different sectors. And one of the things I also like as well too is keeping what you do to the West Indian culture, which is really, really underrepresented in certain parts of the world. So now when you see a soca girl or you see a soca hat or a t-shirt or something like this, it is really nice to see people in different parts of the world wearing the apparel, representing where they're from. Let me move on to Miss Robinson, because I'll move to Nariba because Zale is probably one of the only brands that I've come across in Trinidad and Tobago that in doing events, it sticks to the fact that we want to represent Trinbagonian. Was that something that went into the idea of Zale, or is it something that developed over a particular period of time from your experiences?
Well, for me, it just morphed into more culture than just doing events. Because Zale, when looking for the name, of course, Shamari, I don't sleep. So the name came. So the name came to me like about 3 o'clock in the morning, on September the 13th, 2015.
She remember the date.
And I was just looking for a name that represented the passion and the energy of doing events, not culture, not Trinidad, but just doing events. Because I've been doing events before Zale in a corporate setting. And ironically enough, that is not what I started off with. A lot of people don't know this, but I was studying to be an architect.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
Oh.
And and when they were like, okay, so to take it to the next level, you need to go to FIU, which meant leaving Trinidad, leaving the culture, leaving the whole energy environment. I'm like, no. So I need to find something else to do. And because I always had that knack for events, a lot of my friends was like, why not start your own events company? Slept on it, procrastinated, and then trying to find a name to start the company. I was like, I don't want to find something that is just English related. I want to find something that ties into our culture in some way. So zeal is actually French for zeal, and which means to have, passion and high energy. So a lot of people like, where did you even get the name from?
Wow.
Because of course our country is mixed up with all kind of cultures and everybody from everywhere. It just made sense for the name to have that kind of undertone to it.
Yeah.
And when we did our first event, which was the first weekend in January, so our Zale Cooler usually kickstarts the carnival season every year. And at the end of that night, patrons are leaving, and I would never forget, a guy turned around and asked me, so when's the next event? And I'm like, next event, next year carnival. Like I didn't even, my mind didn't even reach that far as yet. And at that time, I started to think to myself, how am I now going to make this thing bigger? What am I going to do to make this thing bigger? How am I going to set this brand apart from everybody else's? And it was a whole thought process that took a while, because when you're looking at other event companies, you would see that, not bashing anybody, but a lot of them are for the hype, and it's just another party. But
Right.
I always believe that you must be able to set your brand apart from everybody else's.
Yeah.
And it's something I pride with the brand, that we would take time when we're sitting down and planning a concept, that we will find a way to add some part of the elements of the culture in some way, shape, or form. So when patrons come, they'll be like, yo, I never really thought of that. So
Right.
it's that morphed into itself over time period, and we just continuing with it even for Carnival 2021.
Well, yes, that is actually something I want to talk to you about in terms of Carnival 2021. And you're right. You guys, the first event I did with you guys was the Zale boat ride, which is in November or October. I remember telling Chacha after our boat ride, I said, look, any event that they're doing, I had to be in that. If it's not, I had to be there. And I always felt that you guys were doing things that were meant to do something big. And speaking of big, you don't get much bigger than Big Z. Right? Much bigger than Big Z. So I always tell people that I again, everybody in this conversation is kind of responsible for some part of my success. And I always remember coming to St. Lucia for the first time in 2015, I believe it was. And this was after meeting this young lady in St. Vincent. So it's always started with a St. Vincent story. Everything has always started with a Vinci story, right? Okay. Even with Kerra and Karen is always a Vinci story. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is that we met at a beach party, and I always remember being so happy and glad to come to St. Lucia for the first time and perform it for them at that boat ride with a fantasy and come down. So as I was just saying, you don't get much bigger than Big Z. So the two questions I want to ask you is, where did the idea for Big Z come from? And for anybody here who doesn't know all the things that you're involved in, give them just a general understanding of what Big Z does.
Oh, dear. We might be here all day.
But I said that Big Z is an attorney at law, so we can put the attorney at law because that's a very big part of your life and as your career. But at the same point in time, give us the Big Z rundown.
Well, yeah, I mean, thank you guys for having me first off. And Big Z wasn't even beyond my control, to be quite honest with you. I just, I've always been known to have a very flamboyant attitude. My tone of voice is very loud. I'm very expressive. I'm very so forth. So when I came, when I came anywhere, it was just, yeah, boom, Big Z is here. And so that's what my, locally all my friends used to start calling me, and it just carried through, through time, and it progressed. And then, it just became an actual brand. And I took it seriously because, I figured if I'm going to do this, I better do it right. And so I just progressed in taking the brand seriously, and my husband encouraged me. I mean, and that's how that's how it happened. It was really beyond my control, to be honest. Blame my personality for that. Yeah, I'm an attorney at law, and as I say, with anything I do, I operate on energy, I operate on vibes, I operate on uplifting, and even in the courtroom, when I walk in, I read energies very quickly, and that sometimes always determines how I'm going to react, and even my advocacy skills. So then I am going to Legends Carnival Band. Well, no, in fact, I started my events company, and it was because, a group of us, we would be desperate for the vibes. We would want to get out of St. Lucia. We would want to travel and experience different cultures regionally and internationally. And so, it then was a matter of coming back and saying, well, boy, I think we can do that here, or I think we can add a bit of this here, and just not going beyond the norm in solution, the way things were done here in terms of events. So we created the events company, Exotic Events, and that's with your buddy Crystal, your soldier. So yes, and then after that, I got into the Carnival Band, which is Legends Carnival Band, and that was really in tribute to my grandfather, who played 83 years of mass. So my grandfather is a real legend. Wow. So he passed away, and my brother and I decided, listen, we were going to pay tribute to him in that significant way, because he was a Queen's Counsel, and was even asked to be Governor General in St. Lucia, but he always, and the reason why he didn't do it was because he always made time for his mass, and he recognized the importance of embracing that side of your culture and enjoying yourself and working hard. So that's a lot what I stand for. I mean, I'm about the balance. I know it's always very hard to strike, because sometimes you find yourselves in very awkward positions, but it was just a matter of maintaining the good vibes, the good energy, and paying that respect to a man who really loved his mass and his culture. And then, what was there? There's Big Z, big mood rhythm. And that, boy, well, I mean, I've always considered myself a bit of a sound girl, like it or not. So that basically happened with just being at home. As some people may know, I'm married to an international DJ, and he created a lot of rhythms himself. And as far as I'm concerned, I've clashed him, and I won. So as far as I'm concerned, I know what I'm doing too.
All right.
Flashed and win an international DJ without knowing something about music.
Right.
So having said that, he was playing lots of rhythms because he produces himself and has done some big hits. And as a result, I just said, this had a little vibe to it and stuff. And it was the Corona times. I mean, again, I'm desperate for some energy, desperate for some vibes. No one was creating, it was just silence in the zone. You're hearing the same songs over and over on the radio, dread times. And so I figured, why not? And so I gave it a go, and he gave me the opportunity. And I just took it from there, and it's been a successful rhythm, thank God, and I'm very proud of it, and I'm gonna do it again.
It's so interesting you mentioned about COVID and pivoting, and I feel one of my friends, Zendini, from St. Vincent, is actually with us tonight, and I was talking to yesterday in relation to this conversation. And one of the things that she was interested in hearing from you guys is that whole concept of the pivot. Now, I don't think any of us expected that after February, whining and jamming down the road in Carnival, sorry, Karen, but after February of whining and jamming down the road in Carnival, I don't think any of us expected that COVID-19 and the coronavirus impact was going to be as impactful as it was throughout the entire year. And the four of you have businesses that are really geared at creating experiences for people. Whether it is creating a concept for a t-shirt, whether it is working with an artist for an event, whether it is doing an event, or in Z's position, putting on a carnival band for the year. What has the challenge been in terms of pivoting your core business right now towards what is now the new normal? Let me start with probably Karen. How has it been challenging for you creatively to be able to pivot from everything that's been going on, to be able to put out of your mind this virus that is affecting everybody, to come up with concepts and ideas that still are going to be able to make people smile while still having your own apprehensions of the international vibe as it is right now? How challenging has that been? And what do you think you've done to be able to pivot from that?
I'm trying to figure out, because different aspects of my business are affected, because most of my money comes from Carnival. That's my biggest market. When it's Carnival, people need stuff to wear. So as soon as, March, like my orders started like getting canceled, so I was like, oh, that's my money. But at the same time, people needed masks. So then I had to switch my business. You have to figure out what your market wants. So, I mean, I'm not the biggest mask making fan, but that's my money. So I started doing that. And then I started, I haven't personally done it, but I know I've read about people collaborating or just switching their business completely, just figuring out and listening to what your market wants. And then St. Vincent we never went on lockdown, thankfully. We haven't had a high case count. Nothing, like people are having fetes this weekend, I think. So it's starting to pick back up. I know Christmas is coming, as a bunch of fetes, so hopefully the numbers stay very low. But my business was definitely affected. But at the same time, I have an online store, so people are home shopping. So I've been having to speak to them directly rather than people who are going to Carnival. So it's just figuring out. And I started a whole new business in the meantime, with my downtime, because I'm making like boozy popsicles. So I deliver for private events and stuff. And yeah. So it's just like figuring, I think the key to pivoting is figuring out what the market needs. And it's not really about your ego and what you want to do. And a collaboration is really important.
Neriba, you want to chime in on that in terms of the pivot? I mean, you and I, one thing I'll say is that Neriba and I have conversations throughout the entire year, and we've been having conversations throughout the entire of COVID-19. So sometimes the conversations are 10 o'clock a day, sometimes it's 11 o'clock in night. But the bottom line is that we've been talking about the pivot. How challenging has the pivot been for you? Do you see Zale being able to make the pivot? Or I should say, do you see event companies, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, now that Carnival has been cancelled, how are you seeing that pivot happening from your perspective?
Okay, so firstly for us, we are definitely pivoting, believe it or not, and it's in quite well. So for us, we are planning Carnival 2021 because for me personally, I believe Carnival is more than wine and jam, fete and mass. There are different elements that make up Carnival, which is important. The execution, once our great Prime Minister allows us to have a little leeway to have gatherings, Uncle Rowley, we're gonna be doing things. It's not gonna be events. It's not gonna be large, but we are going to approach the culture from a completely different angle. And when we drop, we're gonna be like, yes. I'm seeing a lot of companies. Well, I'm seeing other event companies and their owners branching off into different industries. So I'm seeing some of them looking at doing PR and advertising companies because at the end of the day, that's what we do. That's what we specialize in. I'm seeing some of them going into decorating and design. I'm seeing guys who are just falling off the bandwagon completely because for them, this is what they do. Like events are there, they are events. And point Johnny Q. Johnny Q is a perfect example of pivoting in this COVID time. Johnny Q has a hardware. He does pet supplies and plumbing material and automobile material stuff as well. So it's like there are people who are within the entertainment industry who are making that pivot, who are not just sticking to the viral and virtual events because that could only do so much. For events, as Caribbean people, we enjoy hugging each other, holding each other, saying, hey, you know, like that's how we live. But that's the reason why we go to events, is to enjoy and embrace each other. So a lot of people are making that pivot, some better than others. Zale, we'll see y'all in Carnival 2021.
You know, so important about that, something that you raised and Karen raised as well. The idea, and again, we're trying to share the knowledge with everybody here about kind of putting your ego aside to be able to make the pivot, to pick up things that you probably would not have done before, that now you're taking time to learn and taking time to understand, so that you could pivot your business model into something else. Even the Kreative Kollective, which I'm doing now, has been an idea that has been on my mind for years, but it's only at this point in time that I've actually had the time to put it together and be able to make it into something like this. Because I think it's important that people understand the stories of the individuals that throw events or make it right, or behind the scenes in a carnival band. Because a lot of times people hear things about you, but they don't really know who you are. You understand? And my goal is to try my best to take away the brand from people and let people see them as human beings. And that is important. And I think it's important for the pivot that you have to be able to have that humility to make that change.
And also a little bit of resilience to us, Shamari.
Correct.
Because
I agree with that.
COVID has put everyone in a position where you have to find a way to survive. If you don't survive, I mean, this may sound harsh, but that's completely up to you. As Soka was saying earlier, like, she shifted her business because that's where the market was going.
Right.
I was having a conversation with a friend a couple months ago, and he was saying to me, he's like, Miriba, I have a vehicle. I am now delivering food. He would have never thought that he would be doing that in 2020, having a family, but he has to provide for his family. So having that resilience and putting your tail between your leg and saying, hey, I gotta get it done. Gotta get it done.
100%. One of the things I think Z, Kira, and I have in common is that we don't see each other for part of the year, but we see each other in the second half of the year, and it's in one of three places. It's either in a fete in a different country, in an airport, or on a plane, right? So let me go to Kerra with this. You, I know, travel extensively during the course of the year, and not being able to connect with people all across the Western Hemisphere for a period like that would be challenging for anybody. How challenging has it been for you to be grounded per se now? And what have you been doing to kind of pivot your business and everything that you've done before into what is considered the new normal?
I would be lying if I said that it didn't affect me in the interim. I was very depressed when, I found out that this was going on. We were on lockdown. I can't leave Trinidad. Like, I'm accustomed to doing, 60 flights a year to now being stranded in Trinidad and Tobago. So the initial part of it was very, very difficult, but I had to shift my mindset immediately and figure out, how am I going to pivot during these times? And after, a few nights of just staying up for hours, trying to figure this out, I, decided that people have always, people were reaching out to me from the CWPL aspect. People were reaching out to me saying they wanted me to bring this event to London, to Jamaica, to all of these different places. So as Karen said, I needed to identify and determine what my market needed. And a lot of people during this time needed inspiration and needed empowerment. So I decided to actually take the event online and doing it in the virtual space. Now, for all of my events that I've held thus far, they've all been paid events. And I decided to do them complimentary because I know that people have been struggling. A lot of people have lost jobs. You know, a lot of people are not in a financial position to be able to pay for something like this. So I actually held 4 virtual events. 3 of them were for the ladies, and I did one for Father's Day for the men because we needed to show love to the guys as well. This is not just about bringing Caribbean women together. It's about bringing Caribbean people together. So I also wanted to highlight and celebrate the men for during this time. So for me, I really had to shift my mindset and just kind of decide, like, what is it that I need to do for my people? Because my passion at the end of the day is for my culture, but more so for the people. Everything that I do aligns with helping people. I also have my not-for-profit, which is Kerra Loves Kids, and I work with children in orphanages in Trinidad. So for me, I really just wanted to find ways that I could continue helping people. And just like yourself, Shamari, I launched Plugged In, which was my interview series. It's something that I started last year for Carnival and was only able to do 2 interviews, which was 3 actually, with Lyrical, Skinny, and Ricardo Drew. And then we traveled all year. So I wanted, again, to bring some sort of inspiration to people. So I started doing my Plugged In interviews online on Instagram. It was every Tuesday. And I wanted to share stories, just as we're doing today, because I feel like no matter what, 1 million people could be doing this, but someone will be impacted in a positive manner. Like we could all, I can do it, you can do it, Soka can do it, Nariba can do it. We can all have conversations with different people, but there is always someone that's going to be impacted by this conversation. So even though the market was very saturated with everyone doing lives, I still felt that I had something different to bring to the table. And I also have a different demographic of people that tune into the things that I have. So I wanted to be able to showcase a variety of people from the Caribbean, not just artists, not just DJs, but entrepreneurs, actors, dancers that have been doing amazing things, and talking to them exactly as we're doing now and just sharing their stories and using that as a tool of inspiration for people.
One of the things you mentioned, which I guess everybody here and all the people that are joining us right now, and just once more, if you guys want to get into the conversation, you can send a comment on Facebook or on YouTube, and we'll make sure and get to some of the comments as we go along. One of the things that I've heard from the 3 of you so far is that at some point in time, somebody was up in the night studying what to do. And I raise that point because a lot of people feel that when they go through challenges, even though they may think that nobody's really understanding how they may feel, at the same point in time, somewhere out there, somebody is facing a challenge in kind of like the same way that you are facing it. We all have been up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out how to pivot business. Kerra, good example, as you just said, that you usually do these women empowerment lunches and probably charge a fee. Now you've decided, okay, I'm going to do a couple of these free because at the end of the day, I just want to get the message out. So now you have to sit down at 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, trying to figure out to yourself now, where do I get the funding and the resource to do this? Can I do this on my own? The money that I need to be able to make, where can I now find other resources to make these events happen so that I can still be impactful? And that's something I think everybody who is looking on tonight could actually attest to, that they go through that challenge. Speaking of which, Z, I know that me as well as multiple people across the world were hoping, praying that St. Lucia Carnival was going to happen. Right? Wow. So I don't know about anybody else here, but that was, I think I wasn't that, I was disappointed with St. Vincent because, again, St. Vincent's my second home. I was disappointed with some of the other events I had to do, but St. Lucia was like the holdout now. Like we were all holding out for St. Lucia, and that didn't happen. So that was a big hit during the year. But you have managed to pivot, especially in terms of doing the big mood rhythm. Speak to me about what was the motivation to do the big mood rhythm. And I also want to find out from you, in doing it, did you get the kind of support when it was released in the way that you anticipated to, especially at that point in time when music was not being released in a big way? You're one of the few people teaming with everybody to bring out new music. So what was the inspiration to be able to make that rhythm, to take the risk? Because obviously people go and say, well, yeah, she know not more music, yeah, I understand. But You take the risk and say, listen, I put in my name to this, and I'm going to make this happen. Talk to me about that process and the support in terms of the rhythm itself.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was quite the experience because I mean, you know, there was obviously, to be honest, I just went forward and did what I wanted to. I was brave with it. I just said, listen, I'm going to do it. I contacted the artist. I got involved in some of the writing of the lyrics, and just it was also a learning experience. So
you were involved with writing of the lyrics as well too.
Yeah, so in Bossy, I had a couple tracks. Some of the artists had come back within no time because they were feeling the vibe. So it was almost instantaneous.
Right.
And after that, I realized, but wait, now I don't have a girl anthem. I want to support the women. I want to support my ladies. I want us to be anywhere we are, whether we're in the house, you know, in COVID, but, you know, still singing along and enjoying ourselves and looking forward to better times and being together. So I had to have the girl anthem, and I got involved in the writing process with that. That was Jadel's song, Bossy. Right. And so, yeah, that was a brilliant experience as well. And so really it was about, you know, embracing the learning experience and taking it step by step. And as I say, you know, I didn't actually realize that people were going to be critical about the whole thing, because, you know, the boy, she married to a DJ, the man probably just make the whole thing, then she married to a producer, the man make the whole thing, and she put her name on it. But no, it wasn't really like that. And as I say, anything that I do, I like to do it right. And I just embrace the experience.
Did that, not to cut you across, but did hearing those things, did that negatively affect you in any way? And I ask that question again because so many people out there are engaged in different things that they're trying to do. And I always remember the line from The Dark Knight when they say that the only thing that people want to see greater than a hero rise is a hero fall.
Yes.
And it's always like when individuals are out there trying to do something, as I said, you are being criticized by some sectors because they're saying, well, your husband is Steven, so he must be producing the rhythm, and you just put your name on it to be, you know, to market it as that, but really and truly you didn't do anything. And I have myself know multiple guys I know that have been facing challenges with that in terms of doing things and people discrediting the effort that they put in. How did that impact you, and what did you do to actually get past that kind of talk and chatter?
Well, I don't know if I could say it here. You might have to bleep me, but I really didn't get.
Listen, hold on. You guys are very transparent here. We can be for the people that tuned into us tonight. If it is that you don't mind being transparent, you can just tell us. Say whatever it is you want to say, because everybody wants to hear the real deal. That is what
the real deal is. I didn't even know that was going on until actually someone said to me, they heard it, you know, one of my friends overheard the talk running in a particular event, and then it came back, and I was like, oh, well, I didn't care. I really didn't care. I was very, very proud of my experience. As I say, it was all about the experience for me and being confident what I do. Whenever I do what I have to do, I do it as I say. I'm just give it my full 100, and it was my best. So I was very pleased with it. I was very confident. And when people say what they had to say, I really didn't, because I've long accepted in this life that people are not going to like you, and I really could not be bothered with that. You can respect me, though. You definitely will respect me, but you may not like me, and that's okay, because I don't like everybody too. So, you know, it's all good. You know, it's fine. Once we all respect each other and we do what we have to do, and everybody carries on with their business, then that's cool. What's good for you, it may not necessarily be good for me. They may not even like the rhythm. It's fine. So I was okay with that. I was really okay with it. And it really is, I guess, experience has taught me that, to be quite honest. It's not everybody, it's the easiest thing to deal with. But experience will certainly teach you that, you know, sometimes people are not going to like what you're going to do. You're going to have a lot of people who are being competitive. A lot of people are going to be critical. And I just grew up with that. And maybe it was a good or bad thing, but hey, it's a lesson I've learned from young, and I use it to guide me in anything that I'm doing.
You know, it's so funny you raise that point, because that's a good way to segue to something else. Everybody that's tuned in conversations with some of my friends, so I want to shout out Laurie, Joannie, Engel, Clydonna, who's been giving me advice for the last couple of days. One of the concepts that I was thinking about especially now as the United States has a new vice president elect, and who is the first woman of color, etc., etc., is the idea of being a boss and not a bitch, right? I say that because I think, and I really want to hear your points of view on this, that as a woman, to be able to do business effectively, you have to have a particular level of assertiveness to you. So Zenaida was just talking about, she produced the rhythm, and some people saying this, some people saying that, but at the end of the day, as much as they're saying that, she's assertive in herself and she's going forward and doing it. And I think that sometimes, especially in business, when as a woman you're a little more assertive than others, people generally would say that, yeah, she is the B word, right? And I've noticed this from just being around other women in my life, especially when in business, seeing them as Nariba doing an event, and people's like, Nariba, here we're going on a walk, come for our party, and Nariba now have to be cussing to me as to why this person come and ask for 6 comps to come into the event. You understand? Or Kerra, who would go to events and we'll be on stage, and Kerra is doing stage management, and people trying to rough up Kerra. Kerra's shorter than everybody else. Like, yo, what's going on with you? And then people now seeing that saying, but she's a real bit shred. But no, it's a matter of being assertive. I know we have a lot of women out here that may be looking at this and may see this in themselves. Any of you who could start, let me just pull her out. Let me start with Kerra. How do you balance that equation of being assertive, knowing to the fact that that is something that will be said? Because I think in hearing it, it may impact you, but at the same point in time, I believe that everybody has a way that they deal with the mental process of these things. So yeah.
Like Z said, you have to adapt that mentality of you don't really care what anybody has to say. As if I'm doing my job, this is what I'm doing. And the problem, especially when it comes to the entertainment industry, is that exactly as you said, if you are too assertive, men will say, oh, she's the B word, and they'll have something to say. But they will respect you at the end of it because they know that they cannot walk all over you. You're putting your foot down. This is what it is. This is what time it is, So it's difficult at times for women to balance it because you want to be, like for me, I'm a very bubbly, happy-go-lucky person. Everybody that knows me knows that's the spirit that I have. But when I'm in work mode, I have to put my foot down and, step up to the plate and let them know that I'm here to work and I'm here to execute. So don't come around me with any kind of foolishness. And I refuse to back down. After being in this industry for so long, you kind of start realizing and learning that this is the way that you have to be. Because for me, respect is the most important thing. Like you said, you don't have to like me, but you're going to respect the work that I put out there. You're going to respect the things that I bring to the table because I know what I have to offer. So you're going to respect it. But it is definitely very difficult, but you have to be confident. You have to be confident in yourself. You have to be confident in your skills. You have to be confident in your product. And once you are confident, it makes it a little bit easier for you to be assertive and not care what anybody has to say.
I want to bring in Nariba on this because Nariba, yeah. I want to bring in Nariba on this because why do you think still in 2020 going into 2021 that being assertive is seen as being the B word as a woman? Nariba?
Sorry, was that Shamari?
I was saying, why do you think in 2020 it is still such an issue where, as a woman being assertive, you're seen in a negative light compared to somebody your male counterpart who may be assertive and people might just be like, well, he's an astute businessman. Sure.
Can I disagree with you there? And the reason for me saying that is because the majority of now being a promoter is a male-dominated industry. And as being one of the very few female promoters in Trinidad, I am surrounded by a lot of male promoters, and some of them are my friends, some of them are my really close colleagues. And when I see how they handle their business, a supplier, a DJ, patrons might say, him being assertive, they will call him a jackass, a C. And I would say to some of them at times, I'd be like, no, that's him doing his work. And tying it back to the female perspective, I think once people don't understand your vision and understand how you want to execute your vision, they automatically are going to put you in a category of being something that is negative. If you don't understand something, it's hard for you to look at it in a positive light. So let's take, for instance, putting together a stage for an event.
Right.
As a promoter, you have that vision as to what you want. You would speak to suppliers and tell them, okay, I need the audio put this way, I need the decor put this way, I need the lights put this way. And they will come and do their own thing. And when you now come and tell them, no, you need to move this, you need to move that, they'll be like, but what do you have? And they will want to correct you and be like, no, that's my vision. I know how when the 3 pieces of the puzzles or the 10 pieces of the puzzles are put together, how it is going to look. You are looking at it from your vision, your tunnel vision. So don't come at me for being assertive and doing my job. As Kerra rightfully said, this is my job. Patrons are paying me to come into my event to have an experience. When anything goes wrong, they're not going to say it's the lights man, it's the audio man. They're going to say it's the honorable. So being assertive is a case of, and people saying you're a bitch or ass or whatever the case may be. For me, I think it's because people don't understand your vision and how you want to execute that vision.
Yeah. Karen, do you agree?
I agree. I feel like I don't even pay attention to that. Like I feel you have to know my personality. Like I've always been in like all my businesses. I am the person. So I never really have to answer to anybody. So maybe that's what it is. So I don't really. Yeah, I was just like, I'm also living in New York. Like you just get used to it. It's like I'm just here to do my job and however
it's so funny because I was having this discussion on my other podcast with Private Ryan the other day, and every time we mention people from New York, we always say New York people are different. You know, they must everybody say that like all them DJs know like yo New York yo. It's like I remember going to New York last year. It's like you come in New York to New York real different. You know? So I don't know. Is that's something I'm actually gonna pick up with my guest for the Kreative Kollective next week of why I think that view is so different.
The mentality in New York, I was like, yo, the saying is true. If you make it here, you can make it, and I'm like, you really, if you make it in a Caribbean, you can make it anywhere because we're. I think I'm learning a whole different culture, but in New York, it's like, I don't feel my woman because. In fashion, honestly, it's a male-dominated field.
Right.
People don't really do that. Men control it still. And can I say this? Is it spicy? So like, if I'm gay, if I'm gay, I will have a leeway because they also have their network. So I will be outside of their network. So they hire each other, they party together, whatever. I'm not part of that network. So I feel like me making the little thing that I did it by myself, and I never really had to answer to anyone. So,
right.
Yeah. So me being here, if someone has something to say, I'm like, oh, okay, that's not paying my bills. I don't care.
It's so funny I raised that. And I was in a conversation with a friend of mine who actually lives in Brooklyn, and we ended up in this long talk on Sunday. And I think I addressed this with Zenaida, and I spoke to Kerra about it as well too. And what she was explaining to me is that there's this unpublic spoken conversation that successful women sometimes, on many occasions, don't really support each other as much as they're supposed to, right? And I actually thought that was, to me, that was a little bit surprising because, again, see the kind of stuff that you guys have been involved in, I would like to believe that your friends and people would be really supportive of what you're doing in multiple different areas. Coming from a DJ background, I know the importance of networking and the importance of getting that support from people within my field. But I got the impression from her that when it comes down to women in business, it's a little bit more competitive, and you don't really get the kind of support sometimes that you think that, I wouldn't say you're entitled to, but the kind of support that you think you'll get. Zenaida, can you speak to that to that point? Do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that?
Well, yeah, I really, again, it's well aware that the music production business is dominated by men. My gosh, we're all in an industry where men are just running the show, but not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah. So, I came onto the scene and I came to learn. As I say, I didn't come, proud, but I was confident. And then once I produced the rhythm, I was all go. And then I figured, well, yeah, boy, being a female in the whole arena, I'm sure, I'm giving the girl anthem. I'm sure my girls are going to support this, and everybody's going to be super excited, and, it'll stand out, and it will also set the tone and the pace for women who may not necessarily who are even probably better, have a better air, better talent than I am in this particular region, to give them an opportunity and a little confidence, a little, something to say, well, yeah, let me try that too. Yeah. And so, I really did honestly expect a huge, support from the female, my colleagues, my friends, people in the business, promoters, everything. I did, the DJs, everybody. I was expecting everybody to be around it because I also believed in it very well, as well. Yeah. So having said that, though, yes, I did. I got a little bit of a shock. I got a shock because I found that, to be quite honest with you, we're keeping it real. There was some DJs, female DJs, I sent the rhythm to, and I was like, yeah, boy, I just did this, and, I'd be grateful to get your support behind it, and let me know what you think, because I also wanted the feedback. And, boy, I just like,
they didn't play a tune. As we said, they didn't play a tune.
I'm like, anytime now, I was like, oh, by the way, did you have a chance to listen to that? Up to now, I'm still looking, I can't get a response. So, I mean, it's fine, no, and it is a learning lesson, but it's a reality. It's a very unfortunate reality, but it also, Shamari, it really caused me to think and say, well, boy, why wouldn't she? I mean, support the vibes, first off, why? And then I said, but wait, hold on. Do I do this to other females? I had to ask myself. So it was a matter of taking the whole thing into perspective. And it actually was a learning lesson for me too, that I need to probably do better myself as it relates to encouraging my friends and, my counterparts, or even anybody any other woman who I see doing a great thing. It's all good and easy to like and do all these other things and stuff, but to really support and send a message and really give a little boost of encouragement is an amazing thing. And it was a learning lesson for me. So I have I learned something out of it. And, I would say to other people, like, as well as you looking for the support, make sure you're giving it as well. And that's fair game, So,
yeah. Kerra, I think you're actually in a really unique position to deal with this, because I would like to believe that was the whole purpose of CWPL. That's correct, right? I don't want to get it wrong, right? Correct?
CWPL, yeah.
Right. So I would like to believe that that's the purpose of it, because, again, in the same conversation with my friend, it was like she was trying to explain to me that, there are these successful people out there who don't mind letting you know about their accolades, but when it comes down to now giving that level of support and networking and, actually giving that little push that is needed, it doesn't really come that often. And I think that by what you're doing, it aims to move away from that. So I think that you are somebody that uniquely is in a position to actually respond to that, correct?
Yeah, so like you said, again, I think I had the same realization where, in like I said, in the interim, when I first did the events, I didn't know what to expect, because I really felt like people were going for, what is this event? Like, we've never had this before, we've never heard about this, why should we support it? And people actually came out and supported the event and loved the event. But that doesn't mean that I haven't had other projects that women may not have actually supported. It's we live in a world that we have to lend support as we expect to receive support. So I may, you know, send out the event, and I would think that certain girlfriends would attend the event, whether it be free or whether they're paying for it, and they might not even attend, because in their mind it's kind of like, well, she's never been to my event, or she's never shared the flyer for my event, or she's never done this. So a lot of people, that's kind of how the world works. It's kind of a do for do situation. But at the same point in time, we have to remember that we have to be 100% genuine. So whether it be our friends, our coworkers, or our colleagues, you know, if we expect them to pour into us, we have to pour into them. You know, it's all about pouring into other people. So we can't automatically just assume that women will support women because we're women. Like, it doesn't work like that. Just because I'm a woman does not mean that another woman has to support me. So a woman has to feel as though, you know, this person is pouring into me and pouring into what I'm doing, for them to feel like they want to pour into you. And there are a lot of souls that don't need that. There are a lot of women out there that will just unconditionally have no qualm and just support you as is. And I'm grateful for all of those people that support me unconditionally. But again, like Z said, you know, you have to kind of recognize that there's certain people that are in your circle, or certain people that are around you, that may feel some type of way if you're not supporting them. And if that's your girl, you know, that's your rider, then you should be putting forth that effort to do the same. You know, just because you launch something doesn't mean that they are automatically going to be there to support that. Like, you have to also show them, you know, like, hey, I checked for you. And it goes further than that. Like, it's just a friendship thing. Like, if you appreciate and you respect someone and you check for them, like, reach out to them and check on them. Don't just reach out to them when you need something. You know, a lot of us get caught up. Yes, we are very busy people, and people have things going on. You have families, you have business, you have multiple businesses, but you have to remember as well that we are all human and we all have emotions, you know, so people have to remember these things. Because if someone that I haven't spoken to out of the blue hits me up and says, hey, Kerra's, like, you know, could you put me in contact with whoever, Private Ryan or whoever, like, sometimes I take a step back and I'm like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. You didn't even message me and say, hey, Kerra, you doing okay? Like, how are you doing? You know, is everything okay? And to kind of like let it process for a second before I respond. And sometimes I'm gonna respond and say, you know, shoot him my email. It's on his website. Or depending on, you know, the vibe that I get, because some people are not genuine. Some people are just reaching out to reach out because they need to get something done. So you have to kind of balance your life when it comes to people that you do business with and people that you're friends with. You know, you have to be able to support other people if you expect to get that kind of support. And you have to just, you know, show love to other people. Don't do it when it's convenient to you. Support people all the time. And I always say it takes nothing to support someone. So for instance, you know, we have this panel happening today. Someone could have just shared it for you, Shamari. You know, they may not be able to attend, but they could just share the post or send it to a friend, send it to one person. You know, you may not have money to attend one of Nariba's events or purchase one of Soka's t-shirts, you know, or even play in Zenaida's band. But you can support her by sharing it with someone, by telling someone, hey, you know, check this out. So support comes in many forms. And, you know, the basis of all that I'm saying really is that you cannot just expect support from people. You also have to put in the work with the people in your circle and the people in your community, on your Instagram and your social media feeds. You know, you have to pour into other people if you expect to be poured into as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree that, because it goes back to what Zenaida was saying when we had the conversation day before yesterday, is that, and I want to speak to everybody who listening to us right now. The matter of fact is that a lot of people will feel like, you know, well, nobody really supports and men what are doing and yada, yada, yada. But then you probably have to really start to think to yourself, am I supporting people as well? Am I giving people that same energy that I want to get back? You know, it's so funny because look, I always tell people that Legends is like my St. Lucia Carnival band alma mater, right? So even from there, going to Fusion Mass, at the same point in time, Z and I have still remained well. So when Z sent me the Big Mood rhythm and I did my mix, I put that on it. And it's just because at the end of the day, we all are trying to be successful in our own regards. And I think sometimes we see the glass as half empty and not half full. And I also think that networking is more than just, well, okay, let me talk to this one, as Kerra said, because she know Ryan, or she know this one, or she worked with Bungie. But, you know, it's actually, as you rightfully said, there are people who during the entire COVID would never reach out to you to say, hey, you're alive, you're good, you know, you're eating properly, are you mentally well? And then they'll just message like, yeah, Soka, I want to get a t-shirt deal. Like, you know, it doesn't really operate like that. You know, Nariba, to you, because of how you do events, and again, we are looking at this as a gender neutral conversation. How important is it for you in terms of networking, but more importantly, building the relationships with people? Like, what is that process like for you, building relationships with other promoters within the industry?
Another surprise, I'm a complete introvert.
Tisk.
So as much, and I would say this is one of my biggest downfalls. I don't do the level of networking that I need to do, because the entertainment industry, the party scene is, you need to be rubbing shoulders with this one constantly. You need to be talking to this one constantly. You need to be seen with certain people and in certain circles constantly. And for me, I just find that mentally draining. Like,
right.
How am I supposed to be sharing my energy? All these people, some of these people, you can't even trust the majority of them.
Right.
You can't even trust. So I personally would say, you know what? I find with my small event, as much as a lot of people have told me, it's like, you just need to go big. No. Going big means I need to network with a whole bunch of people. I need to share my energy. I need to share my aura. I need to trust a whole bunch of people. And I personally don't think I'm there yet. I know I need to get there, but it's not something I'm comfortable with. And for me, it's about preserving my space, preserving my brand, and just preserving the people around you. Because as we're talking about, you know, people having your friends supporting you and your family supporting you, I prefer quality over quantity. 100%. I don't need to be seen in events every weekend just for my brand to go strong. The people who are in my immediate circle, and Shamari, you would notice too, like, we would divide and conquer, because we're not as young as these other kids that could be going party every weekend. We have our lives to live. So, as I said, for me, it's a personal struggle. I'm an introvert doing events, but I have a team who supports me 100%. I am forever in debt to them, because when Nariba can't be there, they go out and support. They do the networking. I have committee members and friends who be like, hey, so I see so party, and he was like, where Nariba? But the mere fact that they saw the brand and they saw key persons from the brand there, done. I don't
you see that point you raised about quality over quantity is a really important key in this conversation. And I don't even want to say it in the context of people who do things on a real huge level. Nothing is necessarily wrong with that. Like, I just believe everybody has a place and a position in life, and life is about the balance, as Z was saying earlier. And the truth and fact is that different people are meant to do different things. You know, you might be the introvert, but your creative juices are meant to be able to stimulate the event to give it that direction that it needs to go. Z, as she said, was always the one with the big personality. So when you want somebody to come out there and get a huge smile and talk, and as an experience from Carnival, walk down the road and hand you a drink or whatnot, that is who Z is. You understand? Everybody has their place and position in life. And I think a lot of times, and I said this yesterday, to me, the most important thing to come out of 2020 is knowing yourself. Yes, we want to survive, but I think knowing yourself is more important right now, because knowing yourself will make you understand how you position yourself to the different things and people in your life. And again, as I said, quality over quantity is really important, even especially when you're going big. Karen, I know you work a lot in terms of mentoring people in business. Is this an element of mentorship that you see in terms of encouraging people in networking, or showing them the different ways in which networking can work for them? And do you feel, because you're kind of introverted too sometimes, but do you feel of yourself that from a networking standpoint that you are where you want to be, or there's room for improvement?
That was many questions. I would like to move the conversation as like women don't support each other, but because I don't think in the Caribbean our culture is supporting each other, whether it be man or female. And I mean, it's through history, because we're just like 40, for some reason, we're like 41 years away from colonization. So like we have so much things to untangle and unpack. So I don't want it to be like women don't support each other. I feel like in the Caribbean, we ourselves don't support each other. And again, I hate to be like, oh, in New York, but in New York, it's like we all had it's like when we work, like, because like in the fashion industry, it's like there's a big industry that's not really inclusive, and then there's like the Black industry, and it's like really small, and it's a bunch of Caribbean people. Honestly, every time I meet someone and we hear like a little accent, I'm like, oh, where are you from? And then we're like, oh, Dominica, whatever. And so like we realized, like, for us to come up in an industry, we had to work with each other. We couldn't wait to get a job. We couldn't like wait for like Anna Wintour to hire us, because she's not. So we were like, we had to put each other on. And so in that culture, I realized this is how I got most of my like connects. Whether when I appeared in Vogue, it's because someone connected me. And it wasn't like, because I feel in Caribbean, like we're always quick, like, oh, how much you're paying me? But I'm like, the money comes after. It's like Issa Rae, yeah, she said to network across. Like, don't be like fighting to network up. Like, networking up is important, but network with people who are on the same level as you. Because as soon as someone comes on, I'm gonna put you on. So that's not a problem for me. I think that's I've been noticing a lot, and it gets on my nerve. Is like, because I'm winning don't mean you're losing, and I hate that mentality so badly. It's like, I'm winning, like, you can clap for me because I'm gonna clap for you when you get on. So it's those little things. That, and I'm not that introverted. I just speak when I need to. I tell people this. Like, I don't speak a lot. That's it. I just need to. And the worst thing, I think a lot of people don't ask each other. Is like, I'm gonna figure it out, I'm gonna win, and then everyone else would see. And I'm like, no, just ask someone. Like, if that's, I'm not necessarily a mentor, but it's like, oh, I have a problem with like writing a business plan. It's like, oh, I know someone and I'll tell you. That's just how I work in my head. So I don't call myself a mentor. I'm just like, oh, I know someone who could help you. And like, information is free. And so like, yeah.
But even that connect is important, because there are a lot of people that are not going to do that. And there are not people that are going to say, well, see you struggling and be like, yeah, well, good luck. Yes, son.
Yeah, that's why I wanted GAL to happen. Like, that's why I started GAL, because it was frustrating. Because like, I mean, I'm gonna speak of personal experiences. I was running a nonprofit for cancer, and someone started a makeup line, and I wanted to like sell lipsticks to raise money for cancer patients. And then she's like, oh, I'm not gonna give you that information. And I'm like, I'm not competing with you. I'm specifically selling makeup, and I just want to speak to the manufacturer if to see if like I could do lipsticks without lead and stuff. And I'm like, if someone asks me for like, oh, who's your prince, I'll be like, oh, such and such. And I'm like, that doesn't mean I'm gonna lose or you're gonna lose. Like, because I have a different market than you. Like, I just wish people understood that. But I know it's like a lot of like unpacking from colonization. Like, I feel colonization fucked us a lot. So that's where I stand.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. We want to wrap up soon, and I want to discuss something that I think affects all of us here, and that is the impact of social media on yourself as a person and as a brand. I've been telling people for the last couple of weeks, I'm hating using this word of, well, I'm a brand now. Because my brand is me. I am who I am. I am Shamari. So when people are like, you know, well, what's your brand? Where's your brand about? Like, yo, this is who I am. I'm somebody who believes in having discussion, but also believe in having a good time. I'm somebody who will come in an event and give you energy, but at the same point in time, I am the kind of person that believes in the collective conversation and for us being able to build each other collectively. So whether I have 2,000, 1,000, or 20,000 followers on social media. To me, the important thing is more the connection than the quantity of people following. But I do empathize, and I do think, and it's been on my mind in the last couple of days, that as a woman, there may be a particular level of meticulousness, extra meticulousness you have to take in posting, in how you represent yourself, and where you post. And I say this because I have a partner, he's just post random stuff. So one day he outside just by the corner eating a hot dog, he just posts himself on the corner eating a hot dog, right? And then another day he's sitting on the corner with a spliff in his hand, and just out here medicine. That's what he put, right? And then I'm thinking to myself, but I've always wondered, is it a challenge for you guys in your business now when it is that you're posting stuff, if that is something that you really have to take wholly and solely into consideration? Because I think that is something that people take for granted. They don't really understand that for a woman, you may be viewed differently when you post stuff on social media. Let me start with Kerra and go around because, well, we know why Kerra. So we start with that.
I'm here.
In terms of that, do you spend time actually thinking about, how your social media is supposed to look, the kind of pictures they want to post, or is it for you about more the quality of what you're posting? Not to say that even if it is you want to pop a nice picture, that don't mean that you're looking at quality to it, but it just means that how much pressure, if that's the case, do you feel with social media when it comes down to your business?
I feel like there's a level of pressure for sure, because like I am my brand. Kerra Denel Entertainment is Kerra Denel. So when I'm posting, I post content that is, like sometimes my everyday life, my stories are what's happening, day to day. But for my wall feed, I have to kind of be a little bit more strategic, because people judge you off of your first impression. So if someone comes to my page for the first time and the first 10 pictures of me, I'm in a bathing suit on a boat ride, or just doing the absolute most, living life but doing the most, some people may not actually take me seriously when it comes to the business aspect of it. This is just my opinion, right. So for me, I am somewhat strategic as to what I post and the type of message that I'm trying to deliver, because at the end of the day, I am standing up for women. I have a women's brand, I have a kids brand. So I have to be very wary of the type of content that I put out there. So to answer the question, yes, it is difficult finding the balance, but I keep it as organic as possible so that people could see the real me. Because Instagram is all about perception. You have people on there posting these nice cars, these fancy houses that they've rented, they don't even own.
They live in your house. And
listen,
it's not a bottle of rum, it's not a bottle of Johnny.
Exactly. So it's all about perception. So for me, it's very important for people to be able to do 3 scrolls on my Instagram and feel like, okay, I know this girl. I think we just lost the person there.
We just lost Karen. Well, she was having some internet problems, so she'll come back up just now shortly.
Okay. Right. Yeah. So it's all about perception, like I said. So I want to ensure that I am relatable to the public at the end of the day, because my personality naturally, I'm very humble, I'm very easygoing, I'm very easy to talk to. So when you come to my page, I want you to kind of feel like, oh, I kind of know this girl already. I scrolled 3 times. She loves kids. She loves traveling. She loves food. She loves, her culture. And that's kind of what they get from it. So for me, it has been difficult, but I've kind of found my way, like a way to navigate in that space. And I also ask my friends, like I have a couple of people on here that I'm seeing in the chat that I would go to and say, hey, do you think that this picture is okay to post? Like people will also notice that I don't post alcohol on my feed because of the fact that I have a lot of kids that may follow me, or their parents, or whatever the case is. So I might send a picture where I might have a glass of wine in my hand, and I'm like, damn, like this is a really nice picture, but do I want to post this? This is not part of my norm. So there's some kind of strategy that goes in into it, and that's kind of just the space that we're in when it comes to the digital world. You have to, if you are a brand, especially if you weren't representing your brand, or you weren't representing a company, whether it's a company you work for or your company, then by all means, I would probably post whatever I want to post on Instagram. I would post that I walked to the corner store, I bought a doubles today, or I was whatever. I would post whatever I want, and I wouldn't even think about it. But because I am a brand and because I have multiple businesses, I still have to be represented, in a professional manner in some capacity, because corporate people are going on Instagram to go look at your page. So if I have a contract with Apple, Apple's probably going to go, okay, Kerra Denel, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. What does this girl do in her day-to-day life? How is she representing our brand? So for me, I definitely have to put time into, what I'm posting and how I'm posting.
Yeah, 100%. I always remember when I was working at 96.1, the managing director always used to be like, well, I know you guys want to post whatever, but at the same point in time, you're kind of representing the station. So yeah, you can be free with your posting, but at the same point in time, understand that you represent a brand. Zenaida, do you have that same issue, or is it that you just you want to be able to go and post a photo with you doing whatever, doing the most, or is it that you of yourself also feel that same pressure, like, I need to be very careful with what it is I put out there? Unmute.
Sorry, I was on mute. Well, I think, let's face it, we live in a particular world today, and it really all depends on the purpose for which you use your social media. If it's going to be for a specific reason, if you're going to be attached with brands, if people are paying you to do certain things, then by all means, you have to respect that. If your social media is purely just, about you and, what it is, your day-to-day runnings and your day-to-day life, then you may be a little more, liberal in what it is that you post. So it really falls down to purpose. As it relates to me, my personal experience, I sometimes get it way wrong. I get it wrong sometimes, all the time. But, but that's me being me. I'm not perfect myself. So I might post something that's not as, not as glammed up, or I might be just doing something really fun. But that's what speaks to me and my personal brand. And again, it's not even all about just your brand of your logo and your this and your that. This is who I am, as Kerra said. So I like to share that as best I can. And I like to interact as best I can with them. I'm always in my DMs, chatting to people, because I enjoy that sort of thing. And so it really speaks to me and who I am. But I certainly respect the fact that when it comes to, having a certain purpose and wanting to achieve a certain something, and your social media is pivotal in that, then you've got to respect the code, So that's just simply how I see it, to be quite honest.
I brought up this conversation about social media because even with the four of you, even though I met you guys face to face, the bottom line is that we kind of developed our friendships through social media and through me being able to message and tag and put in a post or whatever. I saved Karen and Nariba last for this part of the conversation because they run separate brands. So actually I was telling Karen, let me start with Karen. That Karen have about 9 different IG accounts now. I can't keep up. You understand? Because it's gal, is Soka gal, is Josephine something, is something. I can tell you from being in my position that managing one account alone is challenging. You understand? So Karen, is it a challenge to manage like 5 different accounts to be able to post 5 different things at the same point in time? How much of a headache? Well, let me not say headache, but do you think that it requires you to be constantly connected to social media in that kind of way, or is it that you schedule how you're doing or what you're doing so that you don't feel that you're taking up too much with it?
So because I used to work, how do I say this? I was part of my brand, and then I made the conscious decision to separate myself from my brand because I realized I'm spicy, and I can't be spicy and run Soka because Soka is not as spicy.
You can't be spicy but run something kind of sedated. You can't do that at the same time.
So I made a conscious decision, and I like that my brand is separated from me because I do like sometimes being a fly on the wall because I've been in situations people are talking about Soka and people don't realize I'm Soka, and I'm
correct.
Yeah, so I'm like, I love this. But I make plans. Like I make social media plans. Like this is what I'm gonna do, la la la. But I don't necessarily follow it. And especially 2020, I've been disconnecting from social media. I just post and I leave. And I will answer DMs because right now social media is overwhelming. So like I had to mentally be like, I can't be on social media all day, every day. So I just post what I need to. If a client needs me, I answer them back and I check out, honestly. On Twitter, that's where I would say like, I don't have a problem with the sexy pictures, but like I can't really be that political or say things that are too spicy because right now I am what's that word? I'm connected with the US Embassy, so I can't be that political and things like that. So I would say like I don't have a problem with like sexy pictures, but like sometimes I want to retweet something and I'm like, oh, I can't do that because they follow me. So
and then obviously because of your brands being apparel, you have a lot of photo shoots that are happening. So you are accustomed to wanting to have a particular look for each account, correct?
Yeah, I'm very conscious of like what each brand is. Like for Sokanaval, I make it about carnival. So it's bright and it's about my customers. And then like when it comes to Soka, it's about what the brand Soka is. So I'm and then the other brands I'm just not even gonna mention. Like I know what everything says. So yeah.
Yeah. Nariba, the introvert to the conversation, is it challenging for you to have to be connected to social media all the time because you have to post this event? Because in your professional life, you actually into marketing. So is it challenging for you to actually be inundated with social media for the entire day? Because I know, again, for me, it's kind of hard to keep up on sometimes. I like quiet time. I like to be able to disconnect and think. And I think people take that for granted a lot, that we spend so much time with this in our hands that we fail to realize the power in actually taking quiet time just to think about things. So in terms of you being, as you said, the introvert, how challenging is that to be that way, but still have to throw an event, to have to hype up this event, to go and talk to people and say, yo, come to my party. And then I had to go and in the corner like, God, but I really don't want to go and do it. Is that a challenge for you? How do you of yourself overcome that?
So
Right. No
hashtag no
pressure. No
pressure.
pressure.
Reason being, so like Karen, I have purposely separated Nariba from Zale. And apart from Zale, as you rightfully said, like my day-to-day job is a
Right.
marketing and promotion specialist. So I am being paid to know what the trends are, to consume media on a daily basis. So when I get home, I am switching off. Like I switch off. And as I was saying, like we would have had this conversation during
Yeah.
COVID time, Shamari, where because events are not happening, I don't have to follow the trends of events. So that's one less thing
Right.
for me to have to keep up with. When it's to post for events, we have content for the next event and the storyboard and everything already bagged in a
Right.
Google Drive, just waiting to press play. Because when you're doing an event, as a promoter, you see certain visuals that will make promotion for the
Correct.
next event way easier. So you brief your photographers, you brief your photographers. This is the type of visuals I want. So when you're promoting next year's event, you have that content, you have that storyboard. So events wise, hashtag no pressure. Love my photographers, love my videographers, they get the job done. Me on a personal basis, I post the most random shit on my Instagram ever. Like I posted a picture last week and I realized, wait, I haven't posted on
Yeah.
Instagram in like 2-3 months. So the caption is like, just stopping by to say hi because I'm like, I felt so bad. For my personal page or brand, I don't really feel the need, especially with the lack of events, to be putting out content on my page ever
Yeah.
so often. But for my corporate job, I mean, I produce content
Yeah.
every day and I have a couple of brands there bubbling up that, as I was explaining to you a couple of days ago, I would sit down on a Sunday or put aside a day and a couple hours where I create content
Right.
and schedule it. So I schedule it, set it, and forget it. I don't have to worry about going back. I think that is one of the hardest parts of creating content for social media, is that it's constantly on your mind. Okay, I need to do this. I need to do this.
Yeah.
That content does not need to control your life unless Instagram and social media and Facebook and Twitter is your life and it's paying you.
Yeah.
If it's not that serious. Trust what I'm telling you. It is not that serious. So I have a method in all my different capacities, but hashtag no pressure.
Yeah, the reason why, again, as I said, I saved you and Karen for last is because you guys have brands that are outside of yourself. Kerra of herself is so much involved with her brand that she is the brand. Zenaida is so much involved with her brand that she is the brand. And it's always been amazing to me how people could separate. As I said, they are the introverted people who will be there posting stuff for people. But when it comes to their own Instagram, it's like, nah, don't look for me here. You understand? And then we have people like Kerra and Zenaida who now have to actually sit down and think about it and sit down and posting stuff and content to keep people, not followers, but engagers who are actually going to be like, yo, Z, what is this thing that you're involved in? Kerra, I saw that you were doing this Kerra Loves Kids initiative. Like, how do I get involved in that? And that requires that you literally have to sit down being plugged into a phone every day. But I want to make the point quickly for everybody that viewing that just like everybody here, we actually set time to disconnect from social media. So I spoke to Kerra earlier in the week and she was like, yeah, 8 o'clock. So I disconnected for the night. And nothing is wrong with that. It means, again, I want to impact to everybody that it's important to have time to think. Quiet time is the best time to think when you're not checking a ping or you're not, looking at what going on or you're not in somebody's DMs or whatever. The bottom line is that thinking time gives progress, and that is something that is needed. I want to wrap up on one more point. This is the final question I'll ask you guys for tonight. I was reminded 2 days ago that tomorrow is actually the International Men's Day, right? And I have a friend who messaged me today and she said that when she shared this live, there was a guy who was like, well, is it that he doing this thing and it's not going to pay attention to the fact that it's Men's Day tomorrow? Are we deflating the fact that it's Men's Day tomorrow? I consider myself very fortunate because a lot of times when people having these conversations, there's a panel of women having a discussion. Me, I look at myself as a unicorn here. So I think it's important that I actually have these discussions and encourage people to have discussions. And I told my friend that at the end of this question, I would tell them why I thought it was important for us to have this question, this conversation tonight, even though it's International Men's Day tomorrow. So I just want to ask each of you all, because I know that you would have had somebody as a woman in your life who would have acted as an inspiration to you in one particular way or the other. But to each of you, is there one male in your life that has impacted you and impacted your career or even just impacted you personally that would have seeped into your career as well? Is there one male in your life that acted as that person? If you're willing to share who that person is and why. So let me start with Karen, because Karen looking most vexed by that question. So let me start with Karen.
I'm not vexed. I'm just like, oh wow. Can I say like an inspiration that I live by? He's not necessarily alive, but I am moved by Chateau because I love that he was kicking Europeans' ass and he was just from St. Vincent, just kicking their ass. And, I just love that about him. And I feel like I'm a descendant of him. So that, that's like anything in my life. I'm just like, what would Chateau do? That's what I think.
All right, so you are the native ass kicker. All right, so we have that out, right? Yeah. Kerra.
I would have to say my dad. My work ethic definitely comes from my dad. Like my dad is 66. He's been retired for 6 years. I'm going to repeat this. He's been retired for 6 years and works every day. He has a job to go to every single day that it confuses me because I'm like, why did you retire if you're going to still go to work? But my dad's mentality is that you have to keep learning, you have to keep learning, you have to keep growing, you have to keep building, and you just have to keep going until you die. He's like, you know, you never stop until you die. You sleep when you die. So for me, anybody that knows me knows that I love my sleep, but it's because I stay up till 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning working all night. Like, I'm a night owl. And anything that I touch, I am a perfectionist when it comes to my businesses, my brands, everything. So I, you know, pour into everything that I do. Everything that I do it with love and purpose. And I strongly feel like I get that from my dad. When I look at my dad, he is that person. You know, he is just 100% all in anything that he does. And I feel like I live by that. And saying it out loud now kind of makes me realize more that that's what it is, because sometimes he drives me crazy and I'm like, why are you always working? But then people always tell me, my best friends say, why are you always working? You know, throughout the entire COVID pandemic situation, people stopped and people rested and people, you know, relaxed and did things for themselves. I did the complete opposite. I was working every night trying to figure out, how am I going to pivot? How am I going to do better? How can I, you know, take over 2020 in some capacity? So I would say that my dad definitely is my inspiration for me to just keep going. And I live by that. Keep going, keep smiling, and keep going.
100%. Nariba.
For me, I would say that I have a lot of male friends, and I have a lot of male support. I could say thankfully, and I'm very thankful for them. I didn't mean you, Shamari. Yeah. Just kidding. No, but I must say I have a very strong support system when it comes to the male figures in my life. So Zale was started with support of very close friends and family. And from the first event, I had all my cousins. We were up in Maracas for the first event, and they were doing all of the work. And they're like, no, you don't worry. You just did it. And everything I instructed them to do, they did. And up to today, like before this live, I had people calling me to say, well, you know, you got this, because Shamari, you know, I was hella nervous about this whole
introvert. I understand.
So it's not just one person for me, but I have a strong male support system that even like committee members, patrons, some patrons who are now very close friends of mine, after event, they would send me very constructive criticism, or they'll ask a question, why this was done this way? I know this isn't your level or your class of work. Something had to go wrong. Or if they see something that I didn't pick up, they would be like, okay, Neriba, I think you need to do this. Like, I have that support. So them, we share love to them the same way.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful and thankful for them. Don't know what I'll do without them.
Yeah. Big Z.
Unmute. Okay, yeah. I would have to say my father as well, without sounding too typical, but it's really that huge for me. My father plays such a remarkable role in my life, and he's my role model. And the reason for it is just because he's just so irie. My father is just such a cool guy. He's so irie with anything he does. He's Queen's Counsel, so he's brilliant. I mean, he no longer practices, but they'll come to me and they'll say, well, how remarkable he was. And yet still he'll be at his home and you wouldn't even know. Like, you know, my father is just so very cool, very, and he's been through so much in life as well. So it also instilled on me the importance of having good and bad experiences and being able to overcome and be brilliant, as I say, you know, because he had like some downfalls, addiction problems, everything. And my father's Queen's Counsel now, and he's a boss, and you can't talk to him, but yet still he's so humble at the same time, and embraces everybody and shows love all the time. And that's something I really want to do in my life, is be able to just show love and, you know, be a happy person and not necessarily worry about things. So I've learned that from him. When you feel like everything is just tumbling down, and I would panic about this or that, and he just like, You live to fight another day. You'll be all right. Don't worry. You'll be cool. And, just to put on some music and you're safe. Just chill. And the importance of doing that and accepting yourself and being happy. So, yeah, man. Yeah, big up T-Mac.
Yeah, and again, I raised that question based obviously the fact that people identifying that tomorrow was that is International Men's Day tomorrow, and the response I gave to somebody was this: if you look at Barack Obama, if you look at our Prime Minister Keith Rowley, and you look at so many different men that have been successful, and even the ones that are not so successful, the constant that you hear from every guy is that there's always some female or some woman in their life that is responsible for keeping them balanced. Yesterday when I went to work out with my trainer, he made a statement to me, which I made sure I said I'd say tonight, that he have his partners, he have his boy, whatever, whatnot. But some of the most valuable lessons he's learned from his life has come from strong women, right? And I think that that is equally important to pay homage to those people, especially going into a day where we are appreciated. So as men, we are appreciated across the board tomorrow. That's our day. But how many guys out there had to have a wife, a mother, a aunt, a grandmother, a nene, a tanty, the neighbor, wherever, yada, 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 that was responsible for actually helping them have that balance in life? And to me, as much as we celebrate Men's Day, at the same point in time, we celebrate them as well too, because they are the ones that have helped us to bring a particular level of balance, which is something that we spoke about in this conversation, just balance. And just to kind of give you all your props, I'll put it like this. At times when I face certain challenges, and at times when I didn't really know how to position myself, I'll pick up the phone and call Nariba, right? Certain times when I have creative ideas on something that I want to put out there as a brand and I want to see people to be able to utilize it, I would call Karen, right? There have been hell of experiences in an event that has nowhere close to Trinidad and Tobago, where if I go on stage, Kerra is going to come and say, all right, well, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. I know you could do this. So even though I am going on the stage now to perform, and I go on the stage now, people go and be like, yo, Shamari, on a real shell. A lot of people don't know that Kerra was the one behind the scenes that making sure that everything is orchestrated and organized in a particular way that I could feel comfortable going on stage and doing my thing. As I always say, that even in my St. Lucia experience, exotic events were the first people to bring it to St. Lucia. And who was the big person with the big smile when I came on the boat? It's like, yo, ting, ting, ting. It was Anaida McNamara. So the point I'm making is that each of you guys have contributed to my development. And by me celebrating Men's Day, in some way I celebrate you guys, because you guys have made me a better person, just like all the men out there who have had some woman or some female in their life that would make them better people as well. So I celebrate all my brothers who have continued to struggle to do things and to be able to make life better for themselves and everybody else. And I'm quite certain that every single one of those guys would look at individuals in their lives, some woman or some female, who is like, yo, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have that kind of balance that I wanted to have, So I think that even though tomorrow we celebrate Men's Day, at the same point in time, it's important to identify the impact that women have had in the strongest men in our society in total. Well, on that note, I had a couple other questions, but we ran over time. And I want to say to you guys, I'm really, really thankful that we had this conversation. As I said from the beginning, it was meant to be a gender-neutral conversation. So I'm hoping that everybody that tuned in actually was able to benefit some way, whether it would be through social media, through marketing, through understanding your brand, understand how to position yourself, keeping yourself motivated at a point in time in COVID, and just reaching out to individuals, and also understanding that, for our businesses to succeed, we need to support each other. That is one of the major things that we need to get out of this. That for Z to succeed, and Nariba and Kerra and Karen to succeed, then we have to put energies into them, just like how they're going to put energies into me or anybody else that has a business that is actually trying to really push forward and progress. So really and truly, this is the first panel that I've done under the Kreative Kollective. I'm really, really happy that I had the four of you guys. It was a phenomenal experience. I thank you so much for your time. Kerra, I thank you so much, especially because I know that you're supposed to dance out at some point in time. So I really, really thank you guys for your time tonight. I'm hoping that everybody learned from the conversation that we had.
Thank you, Shamari, for having us. I just want to say that I'm honored to have been part of this with all these phenomenal ladies, and I with Reba and Karen. And I hope that you ladies keep going, keep smiling, and keep shining. But this was an amazing discussion, and I'm really happy that I was able to be a part of it.
All right. Karen, you have any parting words? Because you're the spicy one.
Oh no. 3:00 this morning, so I'm sorry. But thanks for having me. Like, I had a conversation with Shamari. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm qualified to be on this panel. So thanks for having me. It was great talking to everyone. It's great meeting you, even though it was like 1 hour and 48 minutes. It was a good conversation.
Big Z.
Yes. So thank you very much, Mari. This is brilliant, I have to say. I'm really proud of you and what you're doing. I'm really happy. I'm going to walk out of this feeling real good vibes, good energy, and really lucky to have the opportunity to meet all these lovely ladies and Kerra, my soldier from times. I haven't even seen her for so long, so even that was a brilliant, experience. So thank you, and good luck with everything. And we will support you, and I'm looking forward to supporting you, all you ladies as well. So yeah, man, let's keep the vibes flowing.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Have yourselves a great night.
You too. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank everybody who tuned in tonight for the conversation. As I've been saying from the beginning of the Kreative Kollective, this was really, really meant to see creatives in a different light, especially given the times that we're in right now. I've been using a philosophy for the last couple of weeks, and that is everybody could entertain, but very few people can educate. And to me, it's important that my experiences and my relationships with people, understanding them, that it flows to other individuals who can be able to benefit from the conversation. So I really, really want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight, all the people that shared it, some of the committees that shared it, House of CAT, crew in New York City who shared it, the crew in Washington and Boston, everybody who shared it. I also want to say special thanks to DJ Sly Temba, who is my graphics guy. So everything that you guys see posted comes straight from DJ Sly. And to the women who contributed greatly to this conversation, Joannie, Lori, Cly, Kizia Wildfire, Watson, right? Camilla, and a lot of the other people that messaged me privately and was like, yo, I'm really, really interested in hearing what you guys are going to talk about. And I really want to be able to be part of this. I really, really appreciate it. I really appreciate that as well. Big up Christian Chacha as well too for also providing some inspiration for this. Quickly, just a programming note. I will be back next week with another edition of the Kreative Kollective on my Instagram. So if you're not following me right now, follow me at Shamari KRL on Instagram. I'm going to be back either on Monday or Tuesday with a very special guest whose name I'm not going to release right now. His name is going to be released on Friday. It's really, really, really important that you guys keep that in mind. He's not based in Trinidad, but he is probably one of the soca artists, and I'm going to call it as soca artists that a lot of people want to hear from right now. So I'll be back either next week, Monday or Tuesday. Keep it plugged to my Instagram to know when we will be on and the time that we'll be on. And once again, thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight to this episode of the Kreative Kollective. See you guys next week. God bless.